Welcome to the Owner's Lounge, the podcast made for the ones who don't just stay in hotels, they own them. Whether you're managing your first property or you've built an empire from a single roadside motel, this is your space, your journey, your community. We're talking stories that matter, moves that change lives, and the insights no one teaches you unless you've lived it. Real stories, real owners, real impact. This is the Owner's Lounge.
All right. Well, Jerry, another great day in New York today, and I'd like to welcome everyone to our special Halloween edition of today's episode.
Spooky.
I know. So I wanted to talk about today and take this back. The word rewind, and this episode is going to be called Rewind, and what that word really means to me and us and to you. So I remember and I recall, if we rewind back in history and the promise of this country, America, that was made to us. And do you know and do you remember what that promise was, Jerry?
Well, the promise is that, first of all, that the government was going to be of the people, for the people, by the people.
Yes.
That was the number one part of the promise. Mm-hmm. The foundations of democracy. The second part of that promise was the purpose of democracy in this country, and that was to preserve life, liberty, and property. It was a social contract that grew out of John Locke's Second Treatise of Government. Mm-hmm. He was an English writer during the Enlightenment, and he was the inspiration for our founding fathers in the construction of the Constitution. So any government that is just, according to Locke, is going to protect those three things: life, liberty, and property. And liberty in this case means freedom.
Now, with that, I also want to mention John Adams' definition of the American dream.
John T. Adams.
John T. Adams.
Not the one I'm going to think is the president.
Yes.
Not non-president.
So John T. Adams was an American writer and a historian. And his definition of the American dream became very famous after the Depression in 1931. Adams defines it as the dream of a land in which life should be better and richer and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability and achievement. It is not a dream of motor cars or high wages merely, but a dream of social order in which each man and each woman shall be able to attain to the fullest stature of which they are innately capable, and be recognized by others for what they are, regardless of the fortuitous circumstances of birth or position. That was the American dream definition defined by John T. Adams.
Well, it's an express juxtaposition of the Marxian ideology of communism, because Marx says, from each according to their ability, to each according to their needs. And this is in stark contrast. This says that the real crux of it is the freedom for an individual to use their abilities and their circumstance to elevate their station in life, and by doing that and giving it to everyone, that the entire society gets better based on their own individual improvement.
And that, to me, sounds like the American dream. But
it was for many years.
Yeah, that's not the American dream anymore. It's become the American trap.
I agree with you. I think that we say that, we say that America provides opportunity and that people come here seeking that opportunity. I think the marketing piece is still there, right? That America is a place where you can come and you can make it. So that's the marketing. Mm-hmm. But what's the reality, right? The reality is that the time when you could accumulate wealth in this country, I think, is a long time ago. It's very difficult now with the complexities of government and the amount of resources that it manages that has been taken out of the hands of the people.
Yes. Now, with that, though, I still think the American dream is still very possible in this country. It is just going to be harder for someone to achieve that compared to earlier in America's history.
Without question, and there's some social factors involved in that too. Like, for example, we had an agrarian society back in the day. People needed to have kids to work the farm, right? It was agrarian, and in a lot in the South anyway. Okay, so that being the case, there was an incentive to have children, right? And you had to provide for yourself and your children. What's happening now is that a lot less people are having kids. Our population is only increasing through immigration, really. It's not increasing through birth rate.
Right.
So individuals kind of need less than families do, right? So what we're getting is a situation where individuals may be able to attain minimal quality of life by doing very little these days. But what does that mean for society? They're not producing anything.
Right.
All they're doing is they are producing enough for themselves to play virtual reality games all day, to do whatever it is that they see fit to do, be on social media, right? Because this is a pacifier.
Right.
Okay. And what happens, to your point, to the productivity and the opportunity for other people then? Because everyone's supposed to be contributing.
Yes.
All right. Everyone's supposed to be helping us grow. But if you're happy not to grow, what does that mean for the rest of us?
Right. So in regards with that, we're going to have a couple of call outs and shout outs. One, I want to start with calling out our government and how we have handled this situation and other situations. Government we created government to help us build ladders. Right now, it seems like they're building walls. Okay? And the tax code doesn't reward hard work anymore.
It's confiscatory.
It rewards ownership. And when small businesses lose, they call it market correction. And when big corporations lose, they call it bailout. That's the double standard we live in today.
Too big to fail, you mean?
Yes.
Right. So the whole notion of too big to fail, it kind of cuts. You've identified here, and I think you intended to do this, but what you have identified is three things we're going to talk about today: is government. We're going to talk about media. Okay, and we're going to talk about citizenship.
Yes.
Okay. So what's really happened here is that two of the elements that we discussed, government and media, have really found themselves on the same page lately, okay? Forming a mega group, okay, that has influenced the society. Look at the evidence that you had last election cycle when Zuckerberg and the guy from Google and the guy from Twitter, before Musk bought it, were hauled up to Capitol Hill. And they had to basically admit that they put their finger on the scale of an election.
Right.
Okay? So is that nexus of too big to fail, too big government, too big media, too big corporations? Think about the influence of the big corporations. I'm not talking about the little guy. I'm not talking about the guy that's got 50 stores. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Google. I'm talking about Facebook, Meta. Think of the influence that these entities have because of how much the government needs them.
I agree with that to a certain point. Now, Google, Meta, they are big corporations that we do have in this country, but they are needed. And I'm not, despising or...
Well, no. I'm not arguing that they're needed. I'm saying the nexus between them and government is incestuous. Like the people that leave government, right, may go work for Google. People that leave Google go work for government. They bring along consultancies. They focus government on issues that Google needs, which is a pluralistic society, which is what we have. But I guess my point is some of these companies are so influential that they set the agenda for all of us.
Well, with that too, I think that helps. Like you said, the government, Google needs the government, and government needs the Google. And with our president, what he has done with increasing the fees on the HP-1A visas, which majority of the employees that Google has, Meta has, Microsoft has, Amazon has, are here working for them on HP-1A visas. Now and most of them are covered by the company. Google pays for them, Amazon
They need
pays
them,
for them,
sure.
Microsoft pays for them.
Yeah, they need those coders.
So increasing that fee structure has made our government a little bit more profitable because Google is going to hire and pay that fee regardless. Amazon is going to hire and pay that fee regardless because they need those employees. And those employees, unfortunately, are not local employees of America. They weren't born here, so they have to immigrate and they have to file for H-1B visas.
It's an issue. Those visas are reserved for those with specific qualities that enhance the economic and social fiber of the United States.
Well, it is it not?
I don't disagree with the issuance of those visas at all. You know, that's not the kind. That's the kind of immigration we need.
Right. Yes.
That's exactly the kind. Because, and this goes back to other conversations we have. Our educational system is not turning out, for whatever reason. I'm not going to get into the reasons, but we're not turning out the scientists that we used to. Okay, we're not turning. We may be elite still, and we're still at our top notch level. We're turning out the elites. We always have. We always will. But it's that upper middle layer. That upper middle layer that used to be filled by middle class kids that went to college and learned and got and bought in, right? And did those things that they became coders and computer scientists. But we're not getting those anymore.
Yes. So, and it's time our government started treating us like partners again and instead of pawns.
Yeah.
So let's
Fair.
move on to media now. And while all this is happening in our fourth branch of democracy, the media forgot its job. There was a time when the press told both sides of the story, when the fairness doctrine made sure truth had balance, not bias. But then that ended in 1987, and ever since, our news hasn't been about information. It's been about influence. A few corporations now tell the story of America. They decide what's worth caring about. They sell outrage because outrage keeps scrolling. They call it freedom of press, but it's really freedom to manipulate.
A lot of that happens. You know, media is a very interesting topic globally. You know, the fact is that in a democracy, the media is essentially important because they're supposed to report on the truth. And they're supposed to provide citizens with the appropriate perspectives for which to inform them, and they can make informed decisions based on that, right?
Yes.
So when the media gets into building a narrative versus then reporting a narrative, things change. They have an undue influence because they own a monopoly on all of it. And so now the marketplace of ideas has been somewhat corrupted by large media and its nexus with social media. However, the counterbalance, and we were talking about this earlier, is that you can do your own research because of the internet. See, the internet and its influence has really helped preserve freedom of expression because people express themselves and you can find legitimate support for different positions.
Yes, and I agree with that. Social media is amazing, and the internet that we have today is also amazing, that we as individuals can have our views and our opinions heard. But I don't want to hear those opinions and things like that from our media sources, the media outlets, the professionals. Those outlets should be providing us the truth, the absolute truth, without biasism. So we, as individuals, have a source that we can go to understand and educate ourselves on what is real. Right now, today, I feel like, yes, I turn on the news channel. I have to literally flip through every news station to see and what they're saying about each individual story, because all of them are different. And then I have to go online and look at social media. And now I am forced as a person to do my own research to find out what is the actual
because you don't
truth.
know what the actual fact is,
Right.
right? We've actually corrupted the idea of a fact.
Yes.
Right. So, and the fact, when you corrupt a fact, right, that makes it impossible to get to the truth, right? So someone's fact is different than someone else's fact or what they report. So in column A, we have this group of media that's reporting fact A as their lead piece. In this group, well, there's fact B, that fact A is that the A's are leaving out. So we're going to lead with the B's and we're going to leave out what the A's are putting in. You know, so it's actual, you have to piece it together if you want to get to the whole truth.
That's what we are forced to do now.
You're forced to do it. I agree.
It wasn't like that before.
No.
Like I said.
Well, you know what? We didn't notice that it was, but we didn't have the option to do it.
But see,
We were told what it was before.
the fairness doctrine was in our Constitution. It was a bill put in law that, you know, it basically said that you couldn't report on the story unless you had the facts and the truths about it. And that's the only way you can report on a story. Now, that ended in 1987.
Right. You have a blurred the line between news and opinion.
Yes.
Right. That's what it does. It blurred the line between news and opinion, and so now it gave latitude to reporters to inject their bias into what they're doing. In a lot of ways, the liberal media has been so successful in moving this country in a direction which it may have needed at one point.
Yes.
I mean, think about this. You know, in the post-slavery world and in post-World War II and stuff, I kind of think that we didn't have equal rights for people of color and such.
We did not.
You know, in the 1964 Civil Rights Act and things like that were pushed by the media, I think they were an important agent of change then.
Yes.
And even highlighting some of the issues with the Vietnam War. I'm not going to argue with that. But I think in some ways, the media has become victims of their own success because they continue to want to push this liberal progressive agenda after I think many of their purposes have been fulfilled.
I agree. But with the way media is today, too, and where America is and how we see ourselves being prosperous and improving ourselves, media has basically stopped serving the people and started serving
themselves.
Algorithms.
And themselves.
Yes. So that is why we can't tell truth from any trend anymore.
You know what's an interesting show to watch for that I don't know if you watched The Morning Show. Do you watch The Morning Show?
I catch it sometimes.
Okay. It's very interesting. It's Jennifer Aniston's in it, and it's on Apple TV. A lot of people know about the show. It's a news company, and they struggle with how they're going to present the news. And before COVID hit, they had one angle of presenting the news. Then after COVID hit, they kind of morphed and they changed because they felt the change in society. But they were on hiatus for a year in filming because they were trying to figure out where they were going to go with this.
Right.
And so they went into it, and now they've realized that the backlash was against wokeism now, right? So now they're struggling with how do we keep our liberal soul and understand that people don't want wokeism, right? And I think that's a classic issue that the media really is grappling with right now.
Right.
Because we're not too far removed from, a time period where you couldn't, if you used the wrong language, you'd be stamped out and called a bigot,
Right.
right? And we're not talking about calling somebody a prejudiced name. We're calling about not using the right pronoun. You know, the Me Too movement isn't too far in the rearview mirror, but yet we've come to a place. The media drove that, and now the media is driving this. It drives the national narrative,
Yes.
and I think that's what you're trying to say is that it's doing that.
Yes. So at the end of this, without fair information, there is no fair democracy.
None.
Without honesty and policy, there is no American dream. So tonight, I'm asking for better balance. I'm demanding accountability. To our government, remember who built this nation. To our media, remember who you're speaking to.
Who your audience is.
Yes. Now I want to dive into AHOA and our industry and the reason for me doing these podcasts initially started with. And it's this section I called it the mirror in the room. You know, before we point fingers outside our industry, maybe it's time we look inside our own house. Because the truth is, some of the silence that's haunting or hurting us isn't coming from Washington or the newsrooms. It's coming from within. AHOA, we built something powerful. 60% of America's hotels, that's not a statistics, that's a legacy. Our parents started with roadside motels, long nights, and short margins. They handed us an industry that became a community. But lately, we've been acting more like a crowd. We've got leadership meetings that look polished, but not enough progress that looks real. We've got members who pay dues, but don't see returns. And when hard conversations need to happen, too many people choose comfort over courage. We say we're here for advocacy, but half our members don't even show up when the fight starts. We say we want reform, but when someone brings it to the table, we let politics and personal groups decide who gets heard. If we're going to call ourselves owners, then we need to start owning the voice of this industry. AHOA should be the business association first, not a social circle with a stage. To my fellow members, the one still managing the desk, balancing payroll, fighting franchise demands, this message is for you. You are the backbone of this association, but an association is only as strong as the people who show up. It's time we stop asking about AHOA, what AHOA is doing for us, and start asking what we're demanding from it. We don't need more handshakes. We need results. We don't need more titles. We need truth. And to our leadership, our board, our officers, our president, it's not an attack. It's a reminder. Your seat at that table comes from the people, not the brands behind the banner. You were elected to serve owners, not sponsors. If we keep letting personal agendas and quiet politics run the show, we'll lose the very thing our parents built, trust. And when trust is gone, community turns into competition. So tonight, I'm asking for accountability, not applause. Let's rewind to what made AHOA powerful: unity, honesty, and grit. Let's get back to bring the people who didn't wait for promises to build something great. Because if we don't take ownership of our voice now, someone else will write our story for us. With that, I'm going to also have a call out to our members. When I walk into a hotel lobby, doesn't matter if it's a roadside inn or a full service brand, I still see the same story written on the walls. A family that risked everything, a dream that didn't come easy, a place that means more than profit. That story built this industry, our story. But somewhere along the line, we forgot what made us different. We got comfortable. We started chasing titles instead of truth. We let our association become a reflection of politics around it instead of the people who built it. And I get it. We tried. We've been through COVID, inflation, labor shortages, and franchise fee hikes. But our parents didn't quit. When it got hard, they doubled down. So I'm calling on every owner listening, rewind. Rewind to the time when AAHOA meant unity, when we didn't wait for someone else to speak for us, when we fought side by side, not against each other. Because the truth is, nobody's coming to save us. Not the government, not the media, not the brands. It's us. It's always been us. If we want change, we have to build it. If we want fairness, we have to demand it. If we want our voice to matter, we have to use it. To every hotel owner out there, you are the heartbeat of this industry. You are the faces behind America's open doors. We are the reason travelers feel at home when they're far away. So let's stand together like our parents did. Let's rebuild this community with integrity, advocacy, and courage. Because our story isn't finished. It's just waiting for someone to hit rewind and remember how it started. With that being said, Jerry, where do you see AAHOA and what do you think AAHOA should be doing right now?
So AAHOA would be considered an interest group. No question about it. Is it a PAC or not?
It is.
It is a PAC. So it's a political interest group, political action committee. It endorses, then it supports,
Yes.
and it advocates.
Yes.
It needs to do all of those things. And the reason it needs to do all of those things is because the communications pipeline is slanted to those who have the resources.
Right.
It's just like we said earlier, the media is supposed to be reporting in an egalitarian fashion, but it's not. It reports on those elements in society that have the influence. How do you have influence? You have resources behind you.
Yes.
Okay? So concentrating the resources in a spearhead, not just for AAHOA, but for the industry itself,
Yes.
and to become essential to the hospitality industry. So the Marriotts and the Hiltons don't see you as a necessary evil, but see you as a partner in the advocacy for better legislation and better outcomes for everybody in the industry, making travel better for Americans and opening up different avenues geographically so that the American dream that you talked about can have roots across the country, not just in certain enclaves that the government or the media decide are important.
I agree. I feel a partnership between AAHOA and the brands because both of us are legitimately profiting on the travel industry and that business that we have. And the policies that are put in place, it would be much easier to influence our political leaders and advocate for changes when we are on the same page.
And you have to position yourself with what the people will support. And people like to travel.
Yes.
Okay, you're talking about their recreation. But if you can link recreation and safety and public safety, when you link those two things, you have something powerful. And I think the existence of hotels in specific areas, urban areas, and the development of the areas around them, because the hotels are there,
Yes.
help to support public safety in that you are taking up space that would otherwise be a vacuum. And when you have a vacuum space, you have vandalism, you have all the negative stuff that public safety has to deal with. But if you have a hotel there and it's an entertainment district, it is. I think of Niagara Falls. I look at Niagara Falls, it's one of the worst crime cities in New York State. No crime goes around the casino though.
Yes.
Okay? You've got like 3 or 4 hotels there, and you feel safe in that enclave. Drive outside of it
Right.
and see how you feel. All right? Same thing in Chicago. Be downtown Chicago where Soldier Field is and where Lake Michigan is. And it's hotel, restaurant, hotel, restaurant, hotel, restaurant. You feel fine. Go ahead to the south side. Tell me how you feel. right? So the presence of these brick and mortar facilities, these hotels and their ancillary districts promote public safety.
Not only public safety, but I also think they promote growth. Take our city of Utica, for example.
100%.
I remember back in 2003 or 5, I think it was, when that was the first time there was a Hampton Inn built here, brand new property. There were other smaller hotels here, but that was the first brand new property in decades to be built here. And after that, that was, again, 2005. People travel. People stay here because now they have a place that is new and they can stay at. Do you know how many hotels we have in this city now that have sprung up since 2005 that
I
are
think
brand
it's
new?
like 9 or 10.
We have close to 11 hotels in our area that have come up since then. And our city has grown since then. We have the Nexus Center that we have brought here. The population has actually increased. So it has also built an extra economy and structure and business to our area that it necessarily didn't have before.
Brought synergy to the area.
Right.
Between entrepreneurs here and what they wanted to build, Rob Esch and those folks with the hockey, Frank Elias with Utica Coffee, all the Nexus Center, all of those success stories are dependent upon people being able to get to them.
Yes.
Right? So the hotels are necessary, and now Utica being viewed as a logistics hub because you have the places to stay, because you have the proximity to the rest of the state in the Northeast, and you have distribution centers here. You have Griffiths here. You have so many things here that need the hotel space.
Correct.
And so, yeah, they work together.
So, but that only started because there was a hotel brought here and someone stayed here saying, hey, this area is not that bad. This is something we can do here. Let's build our company and corporation and manufacturing here because we can expand from this area.
We have clean air, clean water, and now we have plenty of places for lodging that are viable.
Yes.
Because you didn't have viable lodging before. You had broken down facilities that were not modernized and did not have the amenities people seek today. And now you have it.
With aspects of that and things that you have also said on how you can be an association and organization that is truly able to make some changes. And one of the biggest things, and this comes in alignment with my view as to what AHOA should really be and what I've said before, my 4 pillars of AHOA. Number 1, advocacy. Number 2, fair franchising. Number 3, resources, which you mentioned. You need to have resources to have. And number 4, education.
Yeah.
We have to teach our members how to do certain things and how things should be done to progress in the right way.
Everything, according to Aristotle, has some innate purpose, right? So what is the innate purpose of AHOA? The innate purpose of AHOA is to advance itself within the context of advancing the industry.
Yes.
That's what it is. That's your ethos.
Yes. Now, there is a clip that I want to play for everyone. Most of our owners are of Asian American, like AHOA is. So it is from a film, South Indian film called KGF. And I felt this scene is very powerful. And we're going to take a little short clip and have our viewers view that, and we'll come back and discuss a little bit about what that clip really meant to us.
Sounds like fun.
This is what it looks like when power finally has to listen. Not because it wants to, but because the people who built the foundation are walking through its doors. That's advocacy. That's fairness. That's the moment we stop asking for a seat and start taking one. So, Jerry, what did you think?
Interesting commentary on the circles of political power and how those things play out in a very real world sense, because there's several interesting points brought up by the film, and one that struck me was the notion of the definition of what people need, and it was so primordial,
Right.
Shelter and food,
Basic needs.
basic needs. So I would argue that if in 2025, a government isn't helping facilitate basic clothing and shelter and food for most of its population, it's a failure.
Yes. This brings to a point, and it's amazing how just talking about this, I see this. My son, my second son just started college. He's going to University of Buffalo. And he was writing a paper on basic needs and how a government, their essential role is to provide safety, security, health, and an environment where people can thrive. And he goes on to say that they need to have basic essentials, like the clip said, food and shelter is basic needs. And I understand our government doing that to facilitate that, because when you have those things, you as an individual person are more capable of doing and achieving things yourself.
Well, there you go. It begs the question of where the line is drawn.
Yes.
Right? So we call welfare in this country, from the federal government down to the states, temporary assistance for needy families.
Again, the key word there is temporary.
Right? Temporary. It's not supposed to become a way of life.
Yes.
All right?
And unfortunately, that's a lot what has happened.
Right. It has become a way of life. So now you have to ask yourself why. The human condition is the number one answer.
Yes.
If you make them dependent, they'll easily fall into dependency. That's one. Okay.
Yes.
But two is the education system isn't reinforcing the role of the individual in advancing their own life, because they're always blaming everybody else.
Yes. And with that too, one thing I wanted to say, since you brought it up real quick, people, we're all human beings, and we need to stop blaming other people, situations, or events that have put us in the situation that we are in. I want you to stop and think for a second. Look at where you are and the reason you're there. You know why? Because it's the choices that you have made during your life that put you in that situation. We need to stop blaming other people and situations. No. If you go back in your time when that incident happened, look at the choice you made. You could have chose differently. And if you would have chose differently, what would have happened then? Realize that. When you look in the mirror and you ask yourself, why am I here? The answer is, it's because of the choices you made. No one forced you to make those choices. And that is something that Almighty God and powerful has given us, is the freedom of choice, the free will that we have. So your situation has been created by you and the choices you have made. Sorry, Jerry, I had to get that out there.
No. The whole notion of choice, like I'm working on a leadership class that I want to start teaching. That's based on divergent timelines, and that the divergent timelines that I'm talking about all generate from key choices.
Yes.
Right. So like each choice that you make has different consequences depending on how you make the choice. Yes. Right. So if we can look at business from those key points of decision making, where to put the hotel, who to hire as your general manager, how you're going to interface with the community to belong, how you're going to advertise and get people into your hotel, what mechanisms you're going to use. Those big decisions all have babies. Mm-hmm. They all have other smaller decisions.
Right.
Okay? But if you get the big decisions right, you minimize the impact of the smaller decisions.
Yes, and that
creates timelines.
how do we decide what decision we should make and what choice we should make? And to me, yes, you have that if you look at the choices, if I look at this, I need to make sure I make the right first choice so the smaller choices are easier.
Well, we need data.
But the way you decide which choice to make is through experience. And I feel experience is our greatest teacher. It has taught us so many things. We can look back at people that had a similar choice or situation and what happened to the experience that they experienced from making the choice that they made. So
And the
that's
experience
how
of your
we learn.
team. And the experience of your team. Because
Right.
if you're, I know this for an absolute fact, if you're in a management structure and a management team, which you are in a hotel for certain, people have expertise
Yes.
that they bring to the table.
Right.
And they need to feel valued.
Yes.
Right. So now when you're talking about how your dynamic of your management staff is, if you are marginalizing people all the time and not taking their input seriously, and not, if you're doing that, they're going to shut down.
Yes.
And when they do that, you're going to have a very ineffective employee. You need people that are bringing their experiences and their richness to the table in order for you to have better perspective and more data points for you to make your decisions on.
Absolutely correct. And that is something that is amazing and eye-opening. And I tell my children this too. Like I said, biggest thing is experience, learning from experience, because even if you haven't experienced, someone else might have experienced it, and you can learn from that experience. We move forward as society and a world together and from our past experiences, trying not to repeat them, because the best way you learn is from your failures as well. They
course.
teach you the most, and that experience that you had, never stop learning from experiences. That's the best teacher, and use it.
And don't stop letting it motivate you. Because, and again, a personal anecdote, I learned from having a retail business at one point with, how shall I say it, with bare bones budget and without backup and but I thought I was smart enough to do it,
Right.
given the circumstances. I wasn't, but I learned from it. I never took on that kind of overhead again. I went back and I realized this is what made me unsuccessful. And the externals, I mean, that's all part of
Right.
it. You have to anticipate the externals, because as much as you can control the internals, you can't control the externals.
That is correct.
But you have to manage them,
Yes.
right? You have to put yourself in a position to manage the externals, okay?
Yes.
And I did not put myself in that position because it was an elite coffee shop, probably before its time, right?
Right.
It was a boutique coffee shop before its time. And I didn't realize that I was vulnerable to McDonald's going with their cafe right next door to me and offering the same product at half the price.
Right.
Okay. Or Dunkin' Donuts opening 2 blocks from me and then proliferate everything they did. I could not control that.
And why is it that they could offer those things half the price and it's because of how big they are?
Economies of scale.
Exactly.
The economy, and no question about it. That's Marriott. That's Hilton.
Yes.
They can do that. They do the same thing.
Yes.
It's the same scenario, right? So you can have great management. You can have a great product. You can have great service. You can have it all in one package, right? But these external behemoths come in and they're offering reward programs that you can't touch. Now you're a Hilton Diamond member, and you're getting 185,000 points for this and 200,000 points for that, and you're traveling for free and you're doing all this other stuff. An independent hotel owner, they'll go broke doing that.
Yes. Now, with that, I'm going to stop there because Jerry is bringing up a point with Hilton and the rewards points and franchising. And we're going to continue this on our next podcast, episode 7, and we're going to discuss franchising, franchisors, and how that relationship is.
And now the role of credit card companies and banks
Yes.
getting involved in it full force, okay? And it's going to change the entire dynamic.
I agree.
Every credit card anyone applies for has an impact now in the hospitality industry.
I agree. So I hope you guys had as much fun as we did on this episode. This was a special one. I do have a lot of call outs. We called out our government, we called out our media, and I am calling out AHOA's leadership as well as our AHOA members. It's a shout out to everyone. Hope people have gotten the message that we're trying to portray here. And if you don't understand what we have said, please, I will explain myself. Jerry has no problem explaining himself. And go ahead and message us or call us
Or comment. Add to the
Yes.
conversation. Listen, I just said we don't have all the experience.
Right.
Right. If there's a point that you want to make to this and you want us to bring it back up, make it.
We'll do it. We will discuss it, and we'll be honest. I will be honest with you because that's the best way we learn. I will
Marketplace
tell
of
you.
ideas, baby.
If you think you have something that you want to comment on or don't understand or feel that there's a better way that we can be doing things, the only way I'm going to know that is by you telling me, and we're able to sit down and have a discussion. That's how we make progress. That's how we move forward.
That's how we advocate.
Yes. Thank you. So good night, everyone. We will see you next month on the Owner's Lounge.